Actually, I think what you just said there about the turns being the correct numbers, that's going to help us very much quite a bit tonight for how our commentating is going to go, Murph. Yeah, we're here at a short oval now, so we've done a lot of these faster ovals with Area 51, and now we're going to be doing the type of racing where you have to watch over your tires a little bit more and try and make those moves later in the stint and make sure your car is set up accordingly.
You do. I mean, this track, Andrew, as you know, very technically demanding. Right on board Shane Coker as he heads toward turn number 1. You gotta really lift and kind of wheel that baby through turns 1 and 2. You get flat out into the dog leg. There's a bit of a dip, and then you're more or less flat out through turns 3 and 4. But you got to be careful there too. The tunnel under the track leaves a bit of a depression going at the exit of turn number 4, and that can catch you out as well.
Yeah, you got to watch the surface changes on this track, and that's part of the reason why a lot of these cars nowadays race on the new Phoenix, is because you had the repave, you had everything kind of set up in such a way where the cars do ride this track a little bit better on the newer version. But every time we go back to this legacy version, there's just a little bit that is left to be imagined. So I'm very excited to see how it goes here.
You know, I am too, looking at Craig Forsyth. The specs on this track, everybody who's an IndyCar fan should know it is exactly 1 mile. The race lap record on this surface is held by Arie Luyendyk, 20.791. It is actually that car is the same car that holds the track record at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and so it holds the record at Phoenix and Indianapolis. So that would be the 1996 IRL race at Phoenix and the 1995 Champ Car equipment. This track also has a road course, and we are well under that, by the way, Andrew. Kyle Clinworth currently on the pole. His best lap, 20.386, so we're nearly 0.4 of a second quicker than the outright track record here. There is a road course that has largely gone away as a result of the repave, the reconfiguration. It was 1.5 miles, and they used to run IMSA cars here. Andrew, did you know that?
I did not, actually.
Juan Manuel Fangio in a Dan Gurney Eagle holds the road course record, 50.695 seconds. It was a 12-turn course, and basically it would go out the backstretch. And there was a little bit outside the track, and it would wind through the mountain a little bit and then come back. And that has largely and unfortunately, Andrew, gone away as a result of the repave. It's no longer available. This track also very much steeped in NASCAR history. The famous Polish victory lap by Alan Kulwicki was first done here, and that's a reference to that's a Wisconsin reference for everybody, and so it's a track that's got a lot of history to it. It's been around forever. They annually held 2 IndyCar races here, and then NASCAR took over the fall date in the late 1980s.
Looks like qualifying is wrapped up here, Murph. We didn't really talk much about these drivers. We had Kyle Clemworth on the pole, but he was usurped by Matt Wagner. Pole position here at Phoenix and track position means everything. So seeing a lot of the usual suspects up front here. So I think we're going to have ourselves a nice little battle of our typical fast movers through the field are all up front right now. The only driver I'm really, really focused on in this field is Edson Santos. He's 13th place, which is something that he is not used to. So like to see how Edson moves to the field tonight.
I'd like to see that. There's one more that I'm kind of focused on, and we'll get to that here in just a second. On the pole, it's Matty Wagner, 178.539 miles an hour. Again, they were 0.4 of a second faster than Arie Luyendyk's outright track record set in 1996. Kyle Clinworth will line up to the outside on the front row. Gary Lover and Craig Forsyth make up row 2. Richie Hearn, Eric Peterson, row 3. Chris Stouffer, Ryan Kelly, are going to start 7th and 8th. Larry Yingling, fastest in practice. He'll go 9th. I'm going to keep my eye on Larry Yingling. He was very quick in practice. Nicholas Stockner lines up in 10th. 11th, it's Nate Fields. Then Jeff Hyson will go from 12th. Edson Santos, you mentioned him, 13th. Frank Irwin Jr., 14th. Charlie Teed, Wayne Campbell make up row 8. Jim Herrick and Hugo Gallows, row 9. Shane Coker and primetime John Stellard will go from row 10. The one I'm going to be watching is right there in 21st. Did not qualify this time either. Mason Mitchum has a couple of podiums from the back. He's going to start 21st. Kyle Brooks and Joseph Morales did not take time either. They'll start 22nd and 23rd. And Andrew, I'm interested to see what Mason Mitchum can do from the back, given this track is very difficult to pass.
Well, that's just it, Murph, right? It's very hard to pass here, so coming through the field is going to be at a premium, but I was mentioning in that introduction there that the tire saving is a thing here, and if you're able to just maintain that tire temperature throughout your stint, there is a possible way to perhaps run long if you're saving a bit of fuel, and we see this all the time with these faster cars, that if you're able to just hold those tires a little bit longer and change your strategy, it is possible to pick up those spots later on in the race.
You know it is. You see the pace car pull away. The field is going to lag back quite a bit. So we're going to get with the field here and await we're going to await them to start the race. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in, joining in. If you haven't already done it, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel, and get in on all the fun here on P1. We're at the backside of a triple header tonight. Robert Malechko won the Indy fixed oval top split. The Indy next oval top split is ongoing, and then they'll join us for about halfway through for the end of 175 lapper, 175 miles here for Area 51 at Phoenix. They're coming through turns 3 and 4. We'll jump up in the flag stand and we'll get this one going. Matt Wagner hits the loud button and away we go. 175 laps, Area 51 at Phoenix underway, and already Wagner and Clinworth bolt to about a 10-car length advantage. Craig Forsyth works to the outside of Gary Lovern. Can he get through? He does. And now Eric Peterson's going to mount a charge to the high side, Andrew.
It was a very clean start from the field. I think Wagner getting on the loud pedal when he did kind of broke up that field a little bit, which is good in terms of how we start the race here. I'm watching the mid-pack. It looks like Charles Teed and Wayne Campbell are really going after it down here in P15. This is where the biggest battles on the track usually are here on these starts and restarts. And you could already see these cars are trying to take that high line a little bit. Oh, a little bit of a hit there. I think that might have been Edson just getting into it with Nate Fields. But yeah,
whoa, Edson's in the wall. Hard in the wall. Edson Santos made contact that looked like with Charlie Teed, and he has clocked the wall at the exit of turn number 2. He's going to go through the dog leg, front wing, right front suspension broken on that leaner energy machine. The meatball is out, and he'll have to go to the pit lane to effect repair. That was a mess. We're looking at Chris Stouffer and now Richie Hearn around the outside of Eric Peterson. Richie Hearn has started to come toward the front. So is Chris Stouffer.
Yeah, definitely. And I hate to say that was a commentator's curse of sorts, but I was just watching where the biggest battles in the field there were. They were 3 wide going for the first lap or so, and just wanted to see who was going to make it out of that. So very interesting that we caught that unfortunate incident from Edson Santos there. And yeah, poor qualifying in the middle of the field always has its own risks, Murph. I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yeah, I mean, as I've aged, I'm still okay in race trim, but the qualifying seems to be troublesome recently. And when you start in the back, you don't do yourself any favors. It is still a mess back here, and if it ain't a mess, it'll do till the mess gets here. That's Charlie Teed. He's getting worked on by primetime John Stellar. They've got Wayne Campbell behind him. I was talking with some of the drivers before this race, Andrew. They were saying that this car was very loose. They gave me Eric Peterson gave me his tools, and I said, "Man, you gotta change those things from one end of the track to the other. Kind of talk about that, Andrew, if you would.
Yeah, when you have different banking on these types of tracks, sometimes it's a little bit more dramatic than we have here at Old Phoenix, but if the car is riding on the banking a little bit nicer, maybe you want to have a tighter car and on one side of the track and make it a little bit looser on the other one so that you can get a little bit more speed on one side but protect your tires on the other. So some of these drivers will get a little bit more loose, happy, as we see someone touch the wall in turn one there.
That was Chris Stover. I don't know if he hit it, but he definitely kicked up the dust. Yeah, I mean, usually it's about 4 or 5 clicks from one end to the other here at Phoenix. You'll know if guys have too much weight jacker in it just because, or they get too light of a front bar. You'll really see that manifest itself in turns 3 and 4, and we saw Wayne Campbell get extremely free as Craig Forsyth has taken the lead now from Kyle Clemworth and Matt Wagner. You'll see that manifest itself coming off of turn number 4. Matter of fact, let's ride with Kyle Clemworth here. If you hold the exit of turn number 4, Andrew, too tight, there's where the tunnel goes under the track. It kind of falls. There's a dip right there, and if you hit that just right, and you've got just a little bit too much right rear in that thing, it'll spin you right on out.
I think we've seen that in the real-life IndyCar, too. Before the repave situation, maybe about 5-6 years ago, some of these drivers just getting a little bit too close to the bottom line there, putting a little bit too much weight on that right rear tire like you were mentioning, and all of a sudden you see spinning down the straightaway. And, yeah, that's definitely not something that you want to do. But we were talking about the tool changes. I don't think at the Old Phoenix it's that much of a detriment. I think at other more different bank tracks on other sides of the track, such as Gateway, these drivers are making drastic changes to their in-car tools to make it work. But once you fall into a line like this, you're really just trying to fight for the clean air, basically. That's how you get yourself forward.
You're also trying to save some fuel. We heard Kyle Clemworth there lift off the throttle following Craig Forsyth. Forsyth with the lead. We think, and this is what Andrew and I get for thinking, 75% fuel, somewhere in the 30 to 40 lap range. They're going to be hitting pit road here at Phoenix. Usually on a full tank you can get somewhere around 60, 55 to 60. I've been as far as 63 here. Ran out of gas. It was not my finest hour, Andrew, but you can get somewhere around 50. You can get somewhere 55 to 60 laps on a full tank. That would mean somewhere 35 to 45 on the smaller tanks that run here in Area 51.
Well, we don't have to think too much, Murph, because eventually these cars will pit, and we'll start to get an idea of what the pit stop strategy is like. Yeah, if they can make it to possibly about 40, 45 laps on that reduced fuel tank there, then we'll have a general idea of what the fuel save is going to be like for the rest of the race, and we can take it from there. But looks like it's very, very tight up front still, and I'm interested to see that, because typically around Phoenix, once the tires start to wear, the cars will break up a little bit. So we have the top 6 fighting pretty close to one another, and then you have this battle with Chris Stouffer and Eric Peterson for P7 after Stouffer did touch the wall there, but they're still within range there of staying with the pack and perhaps maybe adjusting their strategy a little bit.
They are. That's Peterson to the outside. Stouffer's got it on the inside. Ryan Kelly and Richie Hearn working on each other. Richie has gone into the 4th spot, and that's a driver who does have real-world experience here. It's always a delight to see Richie Hearn in one of these cars. He was present, if I'm not mistaken. He was present for the first for the IRL race here in '96. Ran 4th. And I believe that might be his only start at Phoenix, Andrew. It is. So
and of course that was during the old Phoenix paved situation.
Yeah, that would have been
perfect opportunity for Richie Hearn to use some track knowledge to perhaps move himself forward in this race.
That was on this surface. Phoenix had not been repaved as a surface from its inception in the 1960s until they reconfigured it. The surface here very old, and you can see that with all the patches and tar seams and things like that. Phoenix, of course, in a desert, so there's not a lot of freeze. There is freezing and thawing, but there's not a lot of moisture to cause the asphalt to become lumpy. So it was on this surface. There's Chris Stouffer. He's lost another spot to Gary Lovren. Ryan Kelly's gone through, and for Stouffer, I think he might be liking a yellow light here, so he can come to pit lane and effect repair. It's not bad enough. I think he'd want to use his fast repair just yet, but Stouffer definitely hurting for a little bit of speed there.
It doesn't look like the floor is damaged on the car, but perhaps might have knocked the wheel out of alignment a little bit in such a way that the way the car turns into the corners, especially on the flatter side of the track where you have to really put a lot more wheel into it over here in turn 3 and 4 that they're approaching, may actually affect his pace a little bit getting through the corner. But Murph, one thing I wanted to point out, we're 25 laps into this race already, and the field is only spread about 9 seconds from first to last place Joseph Morales. So typically we see these short oval races where some of the cars that are a little bit more off the pace start to fall off the back a bit, and you'll see these drivers start to catch that lap traffic soon. But the pace of this field right now is so close, and we see this week after week in Area 51 where everybody is very, very close to one another. So very interesting to see how tight the field is altogether.
It is, and the first thing that I think about when you say they're still pretty close together on a mile oval, Andrew, is is it possible? Well, my first thought is it's fuel, right? They're all saving so much fuel they can't get off of the top of one another. But at 28 laps in, coming to get lap 29, you would think that the tire wear would eventually start to force them apart a little bit. And that's really kind of what's happening. The best battle on the track is Larry Yingling to the outside of Jeff Heisong. This is for the last spot in the top 10. Larry Yingling working up to that high side. He started 9th. He's lost a couple of spots. And for Larry Yingling, he would have been a guy I would have thought would have started to come forward, Andrew, given how fast he was in practice.
Well, that's just one of the things we were talking about in the pre-race, Murph, where it seemed that some of the drivers that didn't have the greatest qualifying, it's very, very hard to move forward here. This isn't like the Auto Club Speedway that we were at last race, where drivers are kind of able to move over and do everything that they possibly can. But here it's all about patience, and drivers don't ever have patience. And that's one thing that I've learned along the way here is patience usually wins you these races. Patience and going off strategy a little bit, especially if you have a poor qualifying session.
You do, and that's the thing, right? Is if you're really outside of that top 5, you're going to have to figure a way. We'll get back to the lead. You're going to have to figure a way to get yourself cycled up to the front. You're going to have to take a gamble on pit strategy. The problem is 32 laps in, and I hope you hear the knocking, Andrew. We haven't had a caution, so there hasn't been a decision to make in terms of splitting the strategy or going off sequences yet.
Well, that's the next thing I was going to bring up is that these short ovals typically have a bit more of a tire bind than a fuel bind. Some of these drivers are not thinking about their fuel tanks really so much. They're thinking about when can I get out and take the best advantage of new tires and pick up those spots. So some of these bigger ovals that we typically call, everyone's trying to save the fuel and do everything they can to go the longest they can on their stints. But sometimes on these short ovals, it's a little bit more beneficial on these bigger packs like you see down here in around 13th, 14th place. Charles Teed has a group of cars behind him. The best way to pick up spots is to pit, get new tires, and hope that everybody else pits and you don't lose that lap. But that's such a risk to take in these situations because you go off sequence first of all, and then you have to hope that nobody makes a mistake coming into the pit lane.
You do, and you mentioned new tires. That's Edson Santos to the outside of Shane Coker. Santos, as you recall, was in the fence very early in this one. Edson is 2 laps down and scored in 23rd spot. But he does have 6-lap fresher tires, and that's allowing him to kind of make some moves and go through this field. Meanwhile, Nate Fields has dropped himself to the inside of Charles Seed momentarily, but he can't quite make it stick. That little depression at the exit of turn number 4 really kind of caught him out, loosened the car up on the bottom, and well, Charlie Teed just drives right back by him, and now Fields is going to try to work the high side, which, Andrew, the high line through 3 and 4 here at Phoenix is really where you need to be to make a pass.
Absolutely, especially as the tires start to wear. It gets very, very hard to hold that bottom line and carry a lot of speed with you along with that. So I think the first group, wow, that was pretty close there. And
Yeah.
I think the first group of drivers that may try and roll the dice here, especially if they're starting to fall 10-plus seconds behind the field, we're going to start to see the drivers pitch shortly here once they start to realize that their tire life is running out. It's going to be in this group right here. They may not make up a spot to get to the top 10.
Contact!
Someone's lost the front wing there, I believe.
Yeah, contact between Edson Santos and Shane Coker, and that's resulted in the loss of primetime John Stellard's front wing. We're going to get back in the Wayback Machine and show you the contact. There it is between Santos and Coker. And then Stellar.
Spinning now.
All right, man. Caution is out. Caution is out.
And there he is. He had acquired damage to the rear wing, too, at some point. So we need to see where that happened. Edson comes through. There's more contact, and there goes the rear wing on Stellard, and now he's just he's going to go ahead and go around. Thankfully, single car incident at the back of the field. You mentioned pit strategy, though, Andrew. This is not a situation where we're going to be able to see different pit strategies.
Well, on the same token, if anybody in that group had pitted perhaps 1 or 2 laps ago, that puts them at a huge disadvantage because they would be...
Whoa, Clinworth hit the wall in the pit lane! Andrew, Kyle Clinworth locked up the front and smacked the wall right here. And that is a hard hit for Kyle Clinworth. There he is. He's going to drop to the pit lane. We'll see if he affects the fast repair. He will not. But that was a pretty good lick. You got to wonder if maybe that resulted in the in a bent suspension piece, or maybe hurt the floor a little bit on Clindy's machine. He gets away, but that was scary moments in the pit lane for Kyle Clinworth.
I actually wonder if there was... I'm not sure what happened to Forsyth, but he was keeping the pit speed limit through the pit lane and all of a sudden lost a little bit of speed there. I don't know if there was a mechanical issue or something on Craig's side that caused him to lose that speed, but yeah, he definitely slowed down a bit, and that spooked Clemworth a little bit, so he did not necessarily have any issue on his own car, but definitely something that's a little bit odd and something we don't typically see. Now we see Craig is dropping to the back of the field, which is very unfortunate after he's managed to take the lead after a really good qualifying.
He was 15 seconds in the box, Andrew, and he rolled away very slowly. Makes you think maybe there was a wheel or pedal mishap or something like that in the car for Craig Forsyth. And that's unfortunate for the 40 Racewear driver. And speaking of 40 Racewear, they are the sponsor of the Area 51 IndyCar Series. Sim racing shoes, hats, gloves, championship rings, they've got it all. Visit them over at 40racewear.com. Jim will be glad to see you over there. Edson Santos gets the lucky dog. Kyle Clinworth, your leader. Ryan Kelly, second. And Richie Hearn runs along in third. Clindy will lead him back to the green flag. Barney will put it up in the air, and we'll go back racing
Green.
lap number 43. Lap 43 or 44 rather, of 175. And Clintworth.
Teed is loose out of turn 1, catches it, and keeps going. I was watching the restart there because it looks like he was trying
Whoa,
to...
they're not out of it yet. Everybody gets it gathered back up. Great call out, Andrew. But that's one of those where the speed differential was such. I thought he was going to get run over.
Yeah, T had a great restart and got underneath Frank Irwin Jr. and I think he might have just put a little bit too much tools in the car there, Murph. Maybe it's not just used to the new tires yet, but he had a really, really great restart, and I thought he was going to make that move, and all of a sudden he came up the hill out of turn 1, and that car just lost the back end a little bit, but really, really great save there from Charles Teed.
You know, it does, and look, that's one of the things you may not realize if you don't race this car very often, especially on these older scans. The car gets very, very free on cold tires, and if you don't reset your tools, you will not be able to make the first corner. You'll spin the car right on out. So that almost appears to be what happened to our good friend Charlie Teed. He'll get it back going again, tail end on the lead lap, 21st, as we watch Christopher and Matt Wagner go after it. Now here's two guys that have raced around each other a couple of times.
Yes, that's definitely for sure. And I think Stouffer's kind of on a mission right now. He had a little bit of a bad first stint there, but I think Stouffer has learned a few things, and I think he's ready to move his way forward if possible. But again, we got to keep these tires underneath us for a whole stint here, and I'm very interested to see how many laps these drivers are going to do on this stint. We didn't really have the green flag pit stop sequence that we wanted, but I think that we could probably go to about lap 80 at this point. I think we stopped around the 40 region, and that was with some caution thrown in there. So we'll have to see what happens, but it gets to a point on these short ovals that I'm going to try and figure out how my car is running, but then we're going to start counting backwards and see how much fuel we need to save on future stints. And I'm interested to see what lap these drivers decide to make their pit stop.
Lap 42, to be exact, was when they stopped last. They are 9 laps, now 10, into the current run. Christopher has gotten through Matty Wagner. He'll look in on Gary Lovern, who runs along in the 4th spot. The top 3, Ryan Kelly, Richie Hearn, Kyle Clinworth has slid back to 3rd. And I got to believe that's Clindy saving some fuel just ahead of Lovern and Wagner. They aren't catching him, though, and that's something that we don't maybe not talk about quite a whole lot here, Andrew. The draft is effective on a short track like this, as Wags goes back by Stouffer, and he'll look to the outside of Lovern. But the draft is effective here. If you're saving fuel, you can get in the draft to the car in front of you, and it's very difficult to make a pass on a car like that.
It's definitely something you have to keep in mind for sure. And I'm kind of shocked. Where did Brian Kelly come from? He wasn't really running in that front group, but he managed to get himself into a top 3 spot.
Yellow.
Caution is out.
Yellow, it's Charlie Teed at the dog leg. Has found trouble. Charles Teed missing a rear wing, and it appears as though he might have done an Evel Knievel impression too, Andrew. He's going through turns 1 and 2. Too much weight jacker bad, and watch this. There's a transition for the road course, and whee! Gael Brooks can't avoid him, and Gael gets to go for a ride too.
Yeah, I did notice that I heard Edson queue up on the radio. I think Edson and Teed were kind of having a little bit of a spat back and forth. So I wonder if Teed was just putting a little too much tools back in the car again and didn't want to get stuck behind the lapped car of Santos, who will get the wave around again, I believe, here. And just put a little too much into it, and that was that.
He may. Now, this is a great opportunity. Remember, we talked about splitting strategies early. The leaders have been out 14 laps. I don't believe Kelly, Hearn are not going to pit. You're going to see cars come in and you're going to see cars stay out here. So we're going to have a split. Nicholas Stockner stays out. Larry Yingling is out. Nate Fields, primetime John Stellard. Craig Forsyth, Jim Herrick. They're all staying out. Edson Santos is going to be the lucky dog. There he goes. So he'll be back on the lead lap. I would imagine he'll pit just because he'll be tailing Charlie anyway. But you had the front 8 stay out, Andrew.
Well, they're the front 8 now, but it wasn't the front 8 when they came in, because third place dragged a bunch of cars in with them. So,
true.
We have this. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to clear that up, because it wasn't like the top 8 stayed out and then 9th on back came in, just to not confuse anyone. But I think this is interesting because we've been talking about how difficult it is to pass around here. So I think that it's going to be difficult for some of these guys that pit to make up any spots, because track position does mean everything around here. Despite them having newer tires, they're not significantly newer tires. So now we put ourselves onto a strategy race where we have an A and a B strategy, and we'll have to monitor how that goes for the next 120 laps.
We will. You would think that the guys that just stopped are going to be able to make it home on 2 more. The drivers in the front, the 8 that did not stop, might be a little chancy to make that happen. So we'll continue to monitor that. Ryan Kelly, Richie Hearn, Nicholas Stockner, your top 3. Larry Yingling, primetime John Stellar, the rest of the top 5. Fields, Forsyth, Herrick, Clinworth, and Wagner round out the top 10. Do want to thank everybody for tuning in, joining in. If you haven't already done it, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel. You've got Murphy, you got the Catalyst, Andrew Wood, live one more time. It's Area 51 After Dark from Legacy Phoenix. Ryan Kelly will hit the loud button and he'll pull away. Richie Hearn and Ryan Kelly got a great jump there, Andrew.
Well, that's just it. You have the pace car pull off, and the leaders obviously get their best opportunity to make up that space, and they have a little bit less fuel now than some of the drivers at pit, plus warmer tires, so they will pull away initially, but as we see on the larger ovals as well, that will start to close up after a while.
There you go. Ryan Kelly streaks away. He's built his lead almost a 9/10 of a second over this man, Richie Hearn, and that tells me Ryan Kelly's not saving a drop. Richie Hearn, well, he might be, and Richie Hearn darn near smacks the wall out of 4.
This is an opportunity for some of these drivers that kind of fell back a little bit, but now have a sniff at the front. So I think that we're going to see a little bit more of this situation happening. So you have these drivers that are, it looks like the drivers that stayed out are now starting to pull away from that pack that came in there. Jim Herrick is the first driver that looks to be under fire from Kyle Clemworth, but the rest of the field is starting to pull away, and as you can see, the newer tires have not become as effective yet, so it's going to be fighting the dirty air and trying to use the best lines possible to try and move your way forward as Clemworth makes the first move here on Herrick.
You see Kyle Clinworth, he's going to get through, but he is quite a ways back. There's Clinworth run along. He's made it to 8th. They restarted in 9th, so he's made up one spot. His problem is he's got some fast cars ahead of him. Forsyth, Yingling, Richie Hearn, of course, up there. Those are some fast cars, and he's lost just about 3.5 seconds from the leader.
I've been watching to see what Ryan Kelly has been able to do here as well. He has definitely streaked away a little bit, but I believe that Ryan Kelly does the best when he's in the clean air. He did kind of sneakily come up there and steal that first place position on that last caution period. So he had been just kind of hiding himself in the middle of the pack there, but he's showing himself as a formidable high pace driver in this field right now, and I think if that keeps up, that's going to possibly stamp his authority at the front of this A strategy pack here.
It can, and here's the thing, Andrew, and you know this pretty well. You can be running around in 10th spot here. You can be junk. You get yourself a strategy call. You get out front, and it'll turn you into Superman at a short track like this.
Well, that's just it. The clean air is king, and that's a statement that's probably overused a little bit in the racing community, but it's not wrong, especially on a short oval situation. So we've seen these drivers not get spread out so much, but it looks like it's starting to happen a little bit. Ryan Kelly has pulled out that decent lead from Richie Hearn, Nicholas Stockner, Larry Yingling, and John Stellard, but that those drivers that pit are still kind of together on the track here, and they will start to make moves forward shortly.
Yeah, Kyle Clinworth has gotten through Nate Fields, and he'll go to work trying to run down Craig Forsyth. Forsyth just ahead, and here's the view for Forsyth. He's looking at John Stellard and Larry Yingling ahead. Forsyth was an early leader in this race. He had a problem on pit lane. He's running laps now just about the same speed as the leader. Matter of fact, he's just a hair faster. But you can see from this view, Andrew, not really a whole lot of room for him to go forward here as Yingling and Stockner, or Yingling and Stellard rather, battle side by side. Nicholas Stockner has gotten past Richie Hearn just ahead for second.
That was a great move that Stockner put on Hearn. I don't think that Richie Hearn thought that he was going to make the move there, but he really just sent it into turn 3 and kind of slid up a little bit and didn't give Richie Hearn much other option than giving up on it. So we are seeing that on these older tires, you still can make the moves if you kind of deke your opponent out a little bit. So Stockner with a nice move there, and probably using up a little bit more tire than he wants right now, but he does see Ryan Kelly up in the distance. So that's probably all that matters right now.
It is. We saw Craig Forsyth get by primetime John Stellard provisionally. Stellard fought back on the inside the next corner. And here we go through turns 1 and 2. Forsyth on the high side. Stellard with the dirty air, and he'll be forced to give second best to Craig Forsyth. Move Forsyth to 5th. We'll put Stellard back to 6th. And Kyle Clinworth has arrived on the scene, and that likely is contributing to the urgency for Craig Forsyth. He had been trapped behind that Stellard Yingling battle, and he was able to make the move through. And here comes Clindy. Incidentally, Clinworth leads the points here in Area 51 by 55 markers, 196 to 141 over Mason Mitchum. Edson Santos third, Ryan Kelly fourth, but there is a huge spread from first to fourth. Clindy on 196, Kelly 109, and so really it's just Clinworth and Mitchum. Santos is 63 back. It's really just Clindy and Mitchum at this point atop that table, but Mason Mitchum has not been able to move forward. There he is. He's all the way at the back, Andrew, some 13 seconds off the pace, last car on the lead lap.
Yeah, it's definitely not what we were expecting out of Mason Mitchum, and something must have happened because he shouldn't be that far all the way off the back of the field. Something must have happened there. I think Haisong might have had to avoid an incident there, trying to figure out. I think it might have been Jim Herrick. Had something happen on the back straightaway. And it looks like a Charles Teed kind of Evel Knievel incident he had just a lap ago.
Yeah, and it's that can happen here. I had one of those, I want to say here in the votive series, where I had to go through the grass and jumped up, and that can damage the floor of the car and make it very difficult to handle. You're looking at Kyle Clinworth. He's off the back of Larry Yingling. Craig Forsyth has made it through, so this is the battle for 5th, and that's Forsyth just up the road. Let's hop on board with Clindy and see how he's going to work this on Larry Yingling.
Well, one thing that I was trying to mention before I got distracted by Herrick there, at this point, yes, Clinworth has better tires than the drivers ahead of him, but they will equalize after a while. So these drivers that stay out hope that they can run about maybe 20 laps or so, and they can have a similar tire situation, the heat, the wear, and everything, than the drivers that pit. So At this point, Clendy, yes, he's gotten by Craig, he's gotten by John Stellard, and now he's going to have a little bit more of a difficult time trying to get by other drivers that are up ahead. You can see that he's on the inside of Yingling right now. He just can't get that move done as easily as he would if he had the freshest tires and racing against the tires of these front-running drivers at the same pace that they had been before.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, and Larry Yingling is driving the perfect defensive line here for Phoenix. He's going to let Clendy have that bottom lane all day long, Andrew, because he knows that the momentum on the outside is going to continue to carry him forward. But Clinworth, he's not going to give up easy. Here he goes to the bottom one more time in 3 and 4. It's
just so hard to get it done, but we saw Nicholas Stockner do it earlier on, and that was probably a similar level of tire wear that you'll see from these drivers. Wow, Clemworth really washed up the track there, but Yingling gave him just enough room to ride side by side. I think Clemworth's going to get this done eventually, but not without riding the outside. Yeah, Yingling is going to have to give it up at this point, but this is very much what you see in a NASCAR-type race, just trying to inch forward little by little every single time you go through the corner, but you have to trust the car on the outside that you're passing, that they're going to give you the room.
You do. Craig Forsyth and Richie Hearn have started to inch back in on Nicholas Stockner. This would be a battle for second. Ryan Kelly has built his lead now 1.2 seconds over these cars. This is a battle for second. Stockner, Hearn, and Craig Forsyth, P2, 3, and 4. And the question is, can they make it to about lap 90? That would be the lap that I've got circled that they can get home in 2 more stops, Andrew.
Yes, no, I was just trying to get on your level there. I think 90 is the first, and then one more after that is what you're saying.
Yeah. You'd be stop at 90 and then 135, and you should be able to get home. That would be 2 40-lap runs. The drivers who stayed out under that last yellow, and of course there is yellow involved, have been out for 45 laps. So if that's the indicator, they may be able to make it home from here now. But they're going to continue to stay out as long as possible. You do not want to pit under green here, and that's the other advantages of the cars that stopped under that yellow. Andrew, they're going to be able to go 15 or so laps longer than everybody else. If a caution happens in that cycle, Kyle Clinworth's going to come out of here with a lap lead over some of these cars that are ahead of it.
Yeah, that's for sure. And
Kelly's in the pit lane.
That's always the byproduct of trying to stay out. You have to try and figure out what your best strategy is. It looks like I'm watching still on this other strategy. Stellar just got by Yingling. Nate Fields is right there as well. So these drivers that stayed out, they're all going to be pitting soon, but they're all jockeying for position to try and be the best of those drivers that stayed out.
Ryan Kelly was the first one to blink. He came to the pit lane. Craig Forsyth has now hit the pit road, and all eyes shift to Richie Hearn and Nicholas Stockner because they are the front two on this strategy. Kyle Clinworth about 0.7 of a second behind him. How much longer can Richie Hearn, Nicholas Stockner, and company stay out here?
Well, I found it interesting that Stockner gave up that position to Richie Hearn so easily just because he worked so hard to get it in the first place, but it was definitely Stockner holding Hearn up a little bit and letting Ryan Kelly pull away. So Ryan Kelly's going to have a little bit of an advantage of them, but yeah, we're seeing Stellard, I believe Nate Fields also pit. So these drivers are all piling into the pits right now, out of fuel and trying to make their situation work. Jim Herrick's back on the track, just took the wall down. So the last thing we need right now from these drivers is a caution, because that's going to ruin their strategy completely.
Yeah, and how would you like that if you're Richie Hearn? It's one of your teammates that brings out the caution. That's usually an interesting discussion in the Discord, in the team Discord. Well,
no comment.
No comment on that one?
Nope, nothing at all.
Richie Hearn already down and away, 7.9 seconds. He will beat.
We have a big wreck in turn 1 right now.
All right, man. Caution
Peterson,
is out.
perhaps.
Caution is out.
That's Jeff Hysong. Wayne Campbell is involved. Campbell is less a left front, and that is going to really hurt Richie Hearn. Although Hearn may be the lucky dog here because Peterson was involved.
We have many cars involved, Murph.
Yeah, ooh, okay. So it's going to start around Eric Peterson and Wayne Campbell. Here we go with that incident. Down the front stretch they come, and well, they almost got magnetized together, Andrew. Hard impact to the inside wall. And then Hysong gets the old boot from Ryan Kelly, who also gets tagged by Peterson. So that's 4 cars. You see Edson Santos slide through. It might not have been Ryan Kelly. It might have been one of his team cars. We'll have to check that out. There you see Hysong sliding. Awfully hard to see the numbers there.
Just catching up on pit road. Everyone is in and out nicely here as we look at this incident, going in the same way, coming out the same way.
They have. There's Ryan Kelly. So it was the number 33 automobile. Well, it wasn't it was Frank Irwin Jr. That tagged Hysong. Kelly got through on the bottom. So everything is good for Ryan Kelly, except that he's a lap down. Now those cars are all going to get their lap back. The problem is they're going to cycle back to the back of the lead lap, and poor Richie Hearn. He might be the best off of all of those cars because he just stopped. But if you're Ryan Kelly, you're trapped at the back of the leader lap. Craig Forsyth, John Stellard, Larry Yingling, and you've got green flag laps on your tires.
At the same time, I'm trying to see. I see Richie Hearn is pulling over, going to the back. I wonder if he had some incident or if he just was trying to catch someone that was doing a pit-in situation. But yeah, Richie Hearn just going to the back of the longest line. Looks like that everyone's back on their laps that they need to, but they have a lot of work to do, those drivers on strategy A.
Well, and that's always a hard thing too when you're on pit lane or just coming off it, and the caution comes out. It's hard to know exactly where you're supposed to be as we get ready to go back to green. Kyle Clinworth has the lead over Matt Wagner, and he streaks away. That front spot on these restarts has been huge, and Wagner sees Gary Lovert and Chris Stouffer go side by side behind him. Stouffer's going to get into that 3rd spot.
Yeah, I'm back watching the strategy A drivers. Nicholas Stockner looked like he really was trying to get a move done on Richie Hearn again. They're side by side going through turn 4. Richie Hearn still has it. But Forsyth Kelly and John Stower all right in tow there. So these drivers are really going to want to be the first driver on that alternate strategy. At this point, they have no choice but to go as long as they possibly can.
They don't. That's brought Mason Mitchum up into the 11th spot, but Mitchum sees Richie Hearn and Stockner go to his outside. Craig Forsyth is going to try to follow suit. They've got Ryan Kelly in. Whoa! There was nearly contact between Craig Forsyth and Ryan Kelly there at the entrance to turn 1, but this is where the action is. 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th, all right together on the course, and some of these drivers, namely Hearn, Kelly, and Forsyth, have all led this race at one point, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on something must be wrong with Mason Mitchum's car, because he's not been a factor when he typically is able to move a little bit forward, and now he's getting swamped up by all these drivers on, I guess, older tires than him. So perhaps there's just a
caution. Caution is out.
Hugo Gallas and I believe Jeff Hysong involved. Hysong with the meatball. We'll see what's happened here to Hysong. He's battling with Frank Irwin Jr. I have a theory as to why that might be for Mason Mitchum, and I'll expound on that here in just a second. Those two, Hysong and Irwin, just come together off of 4, and Jeff Hysong pounds the inside wall, and that's a hard lick for Jeff Hysong. He'll tag the outside wall as well. Tough break for Hysong. He's going to be out of this one. It could be, and this is just my thought for Mason Mitchum, Andrew, is that Mason is a relatively newer driver on the scene here in the IndyCar community, maybe a year at most, 2 of experience. He may not. It's possible this is the first time he's been here, and this is a track that does favor experience, and so it's possible that it could just be down to this is the first time he's seen the track, Andrew.
Yes, that's a possibility, and we might be taking Mitchum's abilities for granted here. Perhaps it's a time to learn and figure out what the best line is around the track. But we have some pit stops as well we should mention.
We do. Frank Irwin Jr., Hugo Gallas, John Stellard, Mason Mitchum all take to the pit lane. Guile Brooks, I believe, is going to be your lucky dog as Clindy hides in the pace car. That's one of my favorite tricks, Andrew. We've got Indy Kirchenbauer in the house, fresh off of his win in the Indy Next Series. Primetime John Stellar, all the votive cars with fans in the stands. Ricky Paz joins us as well. Good to see you all. If you haven't already done it, hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel so that you can get in on all of the iRacing action here on P1. We've got about 73 laps to go, and we'll be home here at the good version of Phoenix, Andrew.
I'm trying to do math right now, Murph, which is probably a really bad idea, but at this point, everybody's got one stop left, 100%. So, unfortunately, I think it's becoming less and less likely that the strategy A is going to work out unless there's something that happens later in the race. But at this point, the track position means everything. You don't want to give that up under any circumstance.
Yeah, not right now for sure. The crowd, the fans in the stands like the pit, the strategy A, pit under the yellow, more so than staying out. But you're right. When you've got one stop left and you know it, stay out. Especially at this stage of the race. At this stage of the race, for sure. We are standing by
green flag.
For the end of the Indy Next broadcast as Kyle Clinworth rockets away into the lead. And the leader has consistently drawn out somewhere between half a second and a second every time we've restarted. There's Chris Stouffer looking at Matt Wagner and Craig Forsyth, Nicholas Stockner, Richie Hearn, Ryan Kelly, Joseph Morales. They all start doing battle one more time. Forsyth and Ryan Kelly going to come off the winners there. They'll drop to the inside of Joseph Morales. Forsyth gets through. Kelly is going to get through. And Craig Forsyth, just like that, is up to the 8th spot. But how about Edson Santos? He was in the wall earlier, 2 laps down, Andrew. He's made it back up to 8th. And he's looking at Wayne Campbell, or 7th rather. He's looking at Wayne Campbell trying to inch his way back in the top 5.
Yeah, talk about that battle, Murph. Something happened to Richie Hearn in turn 1. Again, these phantom weird situations where the car just randomly slows. We saw with Forsyth in the pits and everything. Joseph Morales drove around the outside of 2 cars, and Forsyth had to take evasive action initially. So that became very, very sketchy on the restart. Not sure what happened to Hearn. He's continued to be slow ever since. Now he's got a whole field of cars behind him, a whole train of cars behind him, I should say. And just didn't get going quite as good as he wanted to. But Joseph Morales with a really great pass of 2 cars there, but now he's dropping to the back of this field again, realizing that similar to Mason Mitchum's possible situation that he may not have the experience to run Maria's and wants to just sit behind everyone.
You know, it's possible. You know, map 8, wrong gear, something like that just didn't get going. Meanwhile, Chris Stouffer is going to challenge Matt Wagner for second. And how about Shane Coker? He's at the bottom of Gary Lovren. Shane Coker's looking racier tonight, Andrew. He's in the top 5. He's trying to pass his teammate for the 4th spot.
Yeah, just another poor qualifying from Shane Coker on these short oval scenarios, but you make the best out of what you can, and suddenly you find yourself on the right strategy, passing some cars, and now you find yourself in the top 5. Coker's made a great race out of it, and I actually saw him battling a couple of cars in that mid pack when we were watching that big pack in the first stint. As we were getting close to the first pit stop, Coker was very racy in that pack. So just pitted at the right time, making himself known right here in the top 10. So let's see if Shane Coker can back up his win previously in the season to another good finish tonight.
It is indeed, and there's Shane Coker. He runs along in 5th. That battle for 2nd has really started to heat up. Christopher has the bit between his teeth, and he is not going to let it go all over the back of Matt Wagner.
And Kyle Clemworth has definitely pulled out quite a lead here. I see this strategy A group I'm watching as well back here, Murph, is just fiery as ever, just going for those top 12 spots here. Nicholas Stockner just will not give up that fight with Larry Yingling, Nate Fields, and I think that's Forsyth has started to pull away a bit, but Richie Hearn has gotten to the front of this now. Very closely there between Stockner and Yingling, and we've seen these two have situations before, so let's hope they just keep the wheels pointed straight and keep the strategy going.
Let's hope they do. There's another good one here. Forsyth, Edson Santos, and they're looking at Wayne Campbell. Ryan Kelly has joined this fight. This is 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. They're all right together on the course. Richie Hearn is a couple of seconds back from this, and so, but this is the best multi-car battle on the track. Stouffer continues to hound Wagner for that second spot, but Edson Santos would love to get by Wayne Campbell, and Craig Forsyth would love to follow him.
Yeah, we're starting to see some multi-groove situation going on here as well, Murph. Looks like some guys are really taking that outside line through 3 and 4 and trying to hold it on the outside. And we were watching it with Clendy and whichever driver he was passing, might have been Yingling. Earlier on in the race, they just went side by side for several laps in a row. And I think that's just a byproduct of getting later into the afternoon here. And perhaps the track is cooling a bit. You're able to run some different lines here. You're just always searching for that clean air on these short tracks.
You most certainly are, and it's one of those things too, Andrew, where you're searching clean air. You're trying to figure a way through. At this point, when it may seem, and we welcome everybody in that was watching the Indy Next Top Split broadcast. It's one of those things too. Caution
is out.
Has hit the speedway, and it's Mason Mitchum has gone around at the that's on the backstretch, and man, he has done a ton of damage to that automobile.
We've seen several cars get a little bit loose there, Murph. I think that's just a problem spot on this track, and especially on the old Phoenix. It's similar to help me out with the track that I'm thinking of, where you climb the hill Gateway, the Gateway turn 2 exit. You climb the hill too much, and that similar situation happens. Car gets light, and around you go.
Yeah, and that's especially acute once the tires start to get hot. If you've got too much right rear temperature in the thing, it just does not grip. Let's get back and we'll get on board Mason Mitchum. He had been struggling with the handling on that machine for the entirety of the event, and here he is. He's going to get down into turn number 1. He's awfully high, almost like you would run at New Phoenix, but there's not enough banking to do that here. There's the touch of the wall, and he comes down the hill, and it just shoots him straight to the inside wall, Andrew. That's a tough hit. And that is going to split the strategy one more time. Kyle Clenworth leads everybody onto the pit lane with a couple of exceptions. Larry Yingling and primetime John Stellard are going to stay out. Clendy wins the race off of pit road. Wagner should come out. Well, Wagner is going to come out second. Joseph Morales comes off pit lane third. Morales did not stop in his box, Andrew. Everybody else, 4 tires and fuel, and that would leave them with something like a splash of fuel or maybe an economy run to the flag. Yingling and Stellard, for certain sure, have one more stop. Yingling has been out 31 laps on his tank. Primetime John Stellard 19. Everybody else has just stopped. Mason Mitchum sits with the tow. Eric Peterson, Jim Herrick, both laps down. Those are the two cars in the pit lane.
Wouldn't be surprised if at this point we see some of the drivers towards the back of the field, like a Guile Brooks, for example. Maybe even Nicholas Stockner, Nate Field. Some of these drivers at the back of the lead lap just come in and top off because you're mentioning that it could be a fuel economy type race. They're going to be at the back anyway. Why not come in, fill that tank up, and then just save fuel from there? I could definitely see Guile Brooks doing that.
Speaking of the devil, guess who's just on pit lane right now? That's Guile Brooks just came in and took service. Hugo Galez and Joseph Morales both did exactly the same thing. And so they'd have to make it 51, 52 laps under green. That's not outside the realms of possibility. I don't think you can make that run in full tilt, but you could likely do it if you were saving. Larry Yingling and John Stellard, they're going to have to stop no matter what. They're going to stand in at Kyle Clinworth. Everybody else behind him are going to have to save. And again, Yingling jumps out to a nice advantage. Again, nearly half a second over primetime John Stellard. Clinworth, that same distance back to third, and he'll deal with Matt Wagner coming for him. And the Hornet's Nest started right back up where it always has, Andrew. Right back around Craig Forsyth, Ryan Kelly, Wayne Campbell.
So I'm going to push back a little bit on your statement there, Murph. It's not just about doing 51 laps. It's about seeing what the cadence of the race is as well. And we see more and more cautions starting to crop up here. So you don't necessarily need to save all the fuel for 51 laps. You just need to pit and be the first one to make the last pit stop, as they always say. And if another caution comes out, the fuel saving does the work for you.
That's very true. You never know. I mean, for me, I'm always the one, if I don't save it, I'm banking on another yellow, one never comes. And then if I save it, then a yellow comes out. I always wind up on the wrong side of that, no matter what happens. But you're right. I mean, at this point with what, 47 laps to go at the line this time, I would think we're probably going to have another yellow, but you never know. Craig Forsyth looking at Shane Coker. Ryan Kelly looking at Wayne Campbell, and this is the battle for the back end of the top 10. You got Edson Santos, and Richie Hearn has come back up to full song. I wonder if he had if Richie had his car at map 8 on that last restart.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was something a little bit wrong there as the car entered turn 1 and lost a little bit of time there. But you can see that these drivers are really trying to maximize their fresh tire output, which could bring out another caution if we have a little bit too much perseverance from some of these drivers. Christopher, Matt Wagner, very, very close in turn 1 there, and just kind of what I was mentioning before, Stouffer really sent it on the inside and pushed Wagner up the track, and any of these small incidents that could happen could come from anywhere in this field here, especially these drivers that are just outside the top 10 that have kind of had a rough go at it. They're just trying to make up as many spots as they possibly can.
They can, and you look at Stouffer. I mean, he's racing Wagner for what is effectively second place here. And Chris Stouffer is not one to let a position go to waste. He's been to the inside of Wags now for several laps, but he just cannot get that move done. And the longer they race together, the more that's allowed Kyle Clinworth to pull away. There's Clindy. He is now in the third spot, and he is catching primetime John Stellard at a pretty rapid clip. Let's jump on board with Clindy and just kind of get the measure of what he's doing. Wagner
spinning at a turn 1, same incident as previous.
There's Wagner broken on the access road. Caution is on the racetrack. There's your yellow. And what's happened to Matt Wagner?
You're going to see it as pretty similar to the other instance at turn one that we've seen, climbing the hill and the car gets loose.
That is almost a carbon copy of the accident with Mason Mitchum. As a matter of fact, their tire tracks, Andrew, aren't more than the black marks in the pavement aren't more than a few feet apart. Just almost exactly alike. And you see the broken automobile for Matt Wagner, and well, that's going to put paid for Larry Yingling, primetime John Stutt. Well, maybe not, because here comes the rest of the field in behind him.
Yes, and of course we have those drivers that came in and topped off on the fuel there that I was mentioning on the last pit stop. It's giving an opportunity for those guys to just wait it out. You have no other opportunity. You made your bet on the last pit stop and possibly could just cycle your way to the front if you get another caution. And suddenly that 51 laps doesn't seem so difficult to save for.
It doesn't. There's the race. There's your race off a pit lane. We did have some strategy on this round of pit stops, and so we'll get that to you momentarily. Nicholas Stockner did not stop. He is your leader. That is Jim Herrick behind him. That's Jim Herrick behind him. Mason Mitchum. Those two cars are laps down. And Mitchum's going to come in. Kyle Clinworth, Shane Coker did fuel only, Andrew. Fuel only for Clinworth and Coker. Larry Yingling took tires. Ryan Kelly, fuel only. Primetime John Stellard and Chris Stouffer got tires. Edson Santos, gas only. Everybody else behind Edson, Gary Lover on back, all took tires under that stop.
Now I'm wondering also about the tire limits for this race. It doesn't seem like the drivers have a tire set limit here. So it's possible that it could be a strategy play to try and have a shorter pit stop for sure. But you still have 40 laps left. I would imagine that you would want the newer tires, so Larry Yingling could have an effect here.
He could. Now, is that advantage going to be trumped by Kyle Clinworth, both his skill and the fact that Clindy is going to get to the clean air first? We know Nicholas Stockner probably cannot make this, and so Stockner is going to have the lead. Herrick's going to stay to the inside, but Stockner's going to have to stop yet again. I don't think the rest of these drivers are going to stop. I mean, they're nonstop from here, Andrew. It's going to be interesting to see. You're right. Larry Yingling may have an advantage, but when does that advantage show up? And are the tires going to equalize before he's able to use it? That's the question. And Yingling did not get going on the restart, and he has got Ryan Kelly and primetime John Stellard all over his rear wing.
Looks like Yingling is going to have to pounce pretty fast, but those tires just need their time to warm up for sure. So Stellard goes to the inside here. I think Stellard's going to have that spot on Ryan Kelly. He does barely. Ryan Kelly has to take evasive action, but he's coming back on the inside.
He does. Kelly and Yingling, of course, those are team cars, and they're able to get the position over Stockner. Here comes Chris Stouffer. Here comes Edson Santos through. And so primetime John Stellard, that poor guy went from 5th to 8th in a matter of a couple of laps, and Yingling and Kelly will do battle. Yingling has tires. Kelly does not. Stouffer does. Santos does not. So there's a mix in there, and there comes Chris Stouffer dive into the bottom.
Stouffer touches the bottom a little bit, loses a little bit of speed there going down the straightaway, but Edson gives him a little bit of grace. Doesn't really go for it there, but Ryan Kelly does make that move on Yingling, so perhaps the tire difference is not so bad, but Yingling has to take advantage of what the situation is on his tires. Looks like there's a slow car up ahead. I believe that's Stockner. Stockner, of course, is going to have to pit again, so he's going to be eaten alive by this group pretty quickly, I imagine.
Yeah, now that he's in dirty air, Nicholas Stockner is going to have a problem. Not only is he going to have to pit in that Luke Mansky Racing automobile, he's on old rubber, and that's not good when it comes to racing and traffic here at Phoenix. He's got Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling behind him, but remember, Kelly doesn't have tires either. It's Kyle Clinworth and Shane Coker to the front 2 spots. There they are. Stockner is third, and that's where the action is from third on back. As Chris Stouffer, my goodness, we got to get on that. We got to get on board with Stouffer. He's, as he usually is, Andrew. He's worth the price of admission.
I think you got to get on board with Forsyth. He's had a Dodge Stewart, and I think that's Wagner next to him. Sorry, that's Gary Lover next to him. Just trying to thread the needle here. Forsyth is right in the mix here, going for. He's got Lovern, but he was really putting himself into a weird situation, just being in the middle, going through turn 1, turn 2, last lap. Looks like it's thinned out a little bit, but these drivers are realizing how much there's left in this race here, and they're going to start going for it.
Yeah, there's not much. We are now down. We'll get it laps to go. We've got 30 circuits left. The guys in the chat are cheering for Shane Coker. Most of his team that is not racing is watching this one, and they're encouraging him on in the chat. He's got about half a second ahead of Kyle Clinworth, and well, Shane Coker is inching toward Clindy. And speaking of inches, there wasn't an inch between Craig Forsyth and John Steller that time. Wayne Campbell dives the inside of Lovern. Behind him, Lovern hard in the wall.
Yeah, Gary Lovern just kept getting the worst end of all of these corners, and unfortunately he had to hold up a little bit. It looks like now he's sideways on pit entry, and as someone comes in there, looks like Gary Lovern's going to get a turn sideways, come into the pit lane. But yeah, unfortunately for Gary Lovern, he had to keep checking up for Craig Forsyth up ahead of him. As you were mentioning, he was fighting with John Stewart, and Gary Lovern just got himself put into a situation where he had to take evasive action on the outside.
He did, and so that leaves Clindy out with a second lead over Shane Coker. Nicholas Stockner started to reel Shane Coker back in here. Now remember, we think Stockner is going to have to pit. We know everybody around him is good. Ryan Kelly is going to try to work to the outside, and this is going to get interesting with Stouffer in this mix. He's going to dive to the bottom on Ryan Kelly.
Stouffer just is married to that bottom side, which is not like the Chris Stouffer we normally see, just kind of riding along the top here. But Stouffer does have some extra sauce on the inside there. It looks like, especially in turn 1 and 2, he really just throws it up the inside nicely, but he's kind of holding his own in 3 and 4 here. So wouldn't be surprised if Stouffer tries to make that run down into turn 1. If he can keep turn 3 and 4 pretty standard along with everyone else ahead of him.
It is. Indy Kirchenbauer checks in. He says Gary Lovern has the worst luck, and I'd have to agree with that. Just wrong place, wrong time. It seems like more times than not, Andrew, and he brings a damaged machine in to the pit lane, and, well, he's going to go 4 laps down, effect the fast repair. But that's a tough end of what was shaping up to be a pretty decent run into the top 10 for Gary Lovern. We're watching the battle for third between Nicholas Stockner, Ryan Kelly. Chris Stouffer is involved here.
And they're starting to catch Shane Coker a little bit up ahead. So Stockner hasn't quite given up yet, but he still has to pit, as we've been talking about for the previous 15 or so laps since we went back green again. But, I mean, Stouffer is just kind of waiting right now. He was diving a little bit. Perhaps he's waiting for that turn 1 dive. It looks like Ryan Kelly's going to have a move here.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly's going to drop to the inside of Nicholas Stockner, and we'll see if Ryan Kelly can't complete that move. Around goes Stockner.
Right,
Caution on the speedway. Stockner is just going to give the inside wall a kiss. And that'll bring everybody back together again. And now we're going to see if the tire advantage for Chris Stouffer is going to hold. Let's get in the Wayback Machine and have a look at the contact between Nicholas Stockner and Ryan Kelly. Here it is from the blimp. To the inside goes Kelly. The momentum's on the outside though, and Well, just the slightest of touches, Andrew.
And then Stouffer says, "Thank you very much. I'm coming through. I didn't have to fight as hard for those positions as I initially thought." And Stouffer finds his way past two cars that I haven't do anything.
That's the easiest way to pass them, Andrew, is when they're stopped.
There, it gets very difficult to hold that outside line, but Stockner had it, and even on the older tires that we saw that he had, it's interesting that he's able to hold that position up there.
We do. There's Kyle Clinworth. He's your leader under yellow. So you've got Clinworth and Coker to the lead here. The sim is glitching out on me, Andrew. You've got Clinworth and Coker in the lead here. Chris Stouffer is third. Clindy and Coker did not stop. Or, excuse me, they did stop, but they took gas only on their stop. Chris Stouffer and I believe I have perhaps lost the sim. Give me a second here to get back in. That is not ideal, Andrew. Can you still hear me?
I sure can, and looks like the pace car is pulling up. I'll try my best to give the call here while you try and get yourself back in. But yeah, we have Clemworth and Coker still leading. Christopher is on his newer tires. They're in third place, and they come around turn 4. But yeah, I'm wondering if at this point you see the newer tires needing to be taken advantage of early on in this stint here. We got 17 laps left in this race here. We're going to get ourselves going, and Stouffer does get a decent restart on Shane Coker. Clemworth does pull away, and down into turn 1, it looks like Stouffer is sticking with Coker, but he does have the whole field coming right behind him. Clemworth continues to lead. I think that Coker is just doing his best to hold the position on the outside through 3 and 4. I believe that Coker still has that run down there, yes, and looks like Stouffer has not been able to take advantage of those new tires just quite yet. Still single file going down into turn 3. Nobody is really moving anywhere else throughout the middle of the pack or so, but Ryan Kelly is all over Chris Stouffer. Shane Coker is still defending, going down into the dog leg and into turn 3. I think that Stouffer is just going to be married to that bottom side there. Coker is just running that outside line. Ryan Kelly is not able to do anything about this situation here as Clendy continues to extend his lead.
No, he's not. And thank everybody for your patience. I was able to get back in the session. That was a sim crash. That wasn't an internet thing. The sim completely went away. We come back to see Shane Coker fending off Chris Stouffer, Ryan Kelly, and Edson Santos all there. Craig Forsyth has battled his way back to 6th. But this would be the run of the career for Shane Coker to this point. If the Votive Racing League Impresario can keep this up, that would be one of, if not the first podium finish for Shane in a high-level race. Andrew.
Well, at least you forget that Shane Coker did win earlier on in the season, so it's just a nice string of races that Coker has put together here. And I mean, shout out to Edson Santos as well, after being basically put in the wall and thought his night was over early on in this race. But enough cautions have come out, and Lucky Dogs provided that Edson is able to still battle here for a top 5 position.
Yeah, he is, and you're right. I had forgotten about Shane Coker's win earlier this season, but you're exactly right, and that's the thing. You know, Shane Coker is he's having himself a year in Area 51 for sure, and that's good to see. He's a guy that does a lot for the community. He's got a great race team. He's doing all the right things, and it's good to see a guy like that run good, Andrew.
Absolutely, and we only have 9 laps left in this race. Looks like we're coming to 8 to go here. And Stouffer is not able still to do anything on those newer tires, and instead has to really kind of watch his mirrors because Ryan Kelly is still around, and Ryan Kelly has had quite an up and down day himself.
Well, and these guys need to get going too, because if they don't start to move, they're going to wind up losing the draft to Kyle Clinworth, and that would be lights out for Clindy. As we get on to 8 laps to go here, Shane Coker is your leader. Shane Coker second, Chris Stouffer third, Ryan Kelly fourth. Clindy has about a 9/10 of a second advantage, and he has been ever so slightly, and we're talking about.
We have a wreck on the front straightaway, big wreck. I saw Frank Irwin Jr.'s upside down. Richie Herna's also sliding around.
There are multiple cars involved. Primetime John Stellard is the leader of that pack. This is going to leave us with a shootout situation, and it's all going to start with Primetime John Stellard and Wayne Campbell. You got Nate Fields, Richie Hearn in that pack, and let's see what we've got here. Same kind of incident, just 2 cars coming together at corner exit. Stellard goes around and right in front of Hearn. He'll tap Campbell, and the melee is on. Richie Hearn upside down. Ryan Kelly, or not Ryan Kelly, I've called that wrong now twice. Frank Irwin Jr. gets into it. You see Gary Lovern hit the inside wall. All sorts of contacts. Matt Wagner gets involved. There he is against the inside wall. Mason Mitchum badly damaged. And, man, that takes out Eric Peterson as well. By my count, there are 7 or 8 cars that are involved here. Let's have a look on board.
Gary Lovern just gets through everything perfectly there. And after the race he had, that's a good stroke of luck for Gary Lovern.
Well, that's Matt Wagner hard into the back of another automobile. I believe that was Mason Mitchum. Let's have a look at, you called out Gary Lovern. So here's Gary's view of this whole mess. To the roll bar we go. This is all going to happen in that group ahead of him. Remember, this is halftime for the fans watching at home. There's the crash, and this is the bad part about Phoenix. It's very narrow. When you get a crash like this, it's almost impossible to miss it. There goes Lovern. I don't know if that's going to be net code. He's going to be forgiven there. You see Richie Hearn. There's another car upside down. That's Irwin. Gary Lovern gets through. The problem for Lovern is he's 4 laps down.
Yes, but there were several wrecked cars, so he's going to pick up 5 or 6 spots just by those drivers being out of the race alone. So Gary's going to find himself moving up possibly into the top 15 here.
You know, it's possible. He's 16th now. Frank Irwin Jr. is 1 lap ahead of him, but Irwin is on pit lane and under tow. You've also got Primetime John Stellard having previously used his fast repair. Stellard is still circulating, but he's going to have to come to the pit lane to answer the meatball. He's going to have to respect that. Stellard will not be able to continue. He's used that fast repair. So you're right. Gary Lovern might make this into, he's going to make it to at least 15th. He might make it to the 14th spot as well, depending on the count back. Kyle Clinworth is going to lead him to green, and Shane Coker, Chris Stouffer going to have one more crack at it. But again, a huge jump for Kyle Clinworth out to about that half a second lead. Can Shane Coker or Chris Stouffer, Ryan Kelly do anything with him?
I'm not sure that'll happen, Murph. It looks like the drivers that are at the front tend to have the best advantage, and looks like we're only going to have 2 laps to go here, by my count.
We are.
So it's going to be very, very close for them to try and make any moves here.
We are. Now, the tires aren't going to get all the way heated up here for these drivers, and so it's possible that if they're able to get close, they can make a move, make it stick. They're going to have the assistance from the draft. Shane Coker within 0.3 of a second, but I don't think he's going to get close enough. Kyle Clinworth grabs the white flag. He's around turns 1 and 2, headed for the dog leg. and he is about 10 seconds from pay dirt. He'll line it up to go through 3 and 4. Shane Coker is going to be marginally faster on these last 2 laps, but it won't matter. Kyle Clinworth comes around turns 3 and 4. He will cross under Barney with the checkered flag in hand. Kyle Clinworth is your winner, Area 51 at Legacy Phoenix. Shane Coker runs second, and how about Chris Stouffer fights back to a podium after some early trouble?
Unfortunately, in Area 51 style, we've had another big wreck on the last lap between Joseph Morales and Nate Fields going into turn 3. It looks like Nate actually did quite a pirouette there, and also looks like Forsyth took the wall down in turn 4 and broke his front wing going to the line. So no shortage of action here in Area 51.
There's the contact between Morales and Nate Fields, and you see him spin. Nate Fields spin like a top. Morales was able to get himself through. Meanwhile, you said Forsyth hit it as well. Let's see what's
coming to the checker. It looks like he and Edson were really battling there, and I think Forsyth just wanted to basically see what he could do on the outside and took the wall down.
He did indeed. He's able to cross the start-finish line in the 6th spot, and that leaves Kyle Clinworth as your winner here at Legacy Phoenix. Shane Coker is going to come home second. He's had a nice stretch of races. Chris Stouffer will wind up in the 3rd spot. Ryan Kelly, Edson Santos, the remainder of your top 5, and then it's going to be Craig Forsyth, Larry Yingling, Hugo Gallows, Richie Hearn, and Joseph Morales, the remainder of the top 10. In 11th, Nicholas Stockner. How about Eric Peterson, 12th? Nate Fields is 13th. Primetime John Stellard, 14th. And Gary Loburn, he gets back to the 15th spot, Andrew. How about that?
Yeah, that's definitely a silver lining to an otherwise forgettable day, for sure. And you take wins like that.
You most certainly do. Jim Herrick will be credited with 16th. Guile Brooks, 17th. Frank Irwin Jr., 18th. Frank Irwin Jr. is going to be 18th. Matt Wagner, 19th. And Wayne Campbell round out your top 20. In 21st, Mason Mitchum, Jeff Heisong, 22nd. Charlie Teed going to be credited with 23rd and last. And I bet we're going to have some things to talk about with some drivers as soon as we can get some of them in the booth here. Speaking of those drivers, we've got one of them in the booth. It's the Bruno Junqueira of Area 51, Chris Stouffer. Stouffer, you've got Murph, you've got Andrew Wood in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
I got you.
You had an interesting day. What happened at the beginning that got you kind of behind? Did you tap the wall? The car just wasn't handling? Talk to us about the early running, because it was fun watching you drive back through the field for sure.
To be honest, in practice, my computer locked up, so I had to reset, so I didn't get much practice, and I was lucky to qualify where I was, and I just kind of hung out there at the bottom, top 10, and fell back into the teens at one point. Was able to drive back through the field. It wasn't easy to pass. It felt like I only passed like 2 cars the whole night, so I don't know how I moved around the field so much, but I'll take it.
Looks like you were actually a low line merchant for once there, Stouffer. So was it very difficult to try and make that move there on the bottom side of the track, or were you just trying to inch your way forward little by little when you were trying to make those big moves on Ryan Kelly and others that you were racing with tonight?
Well, part of it was just going for clean air wherever you could find it, and it was down low, so you had to figure out how to drive the car down low. But when it came to passing, trying to pass somebody on the low side, especially in turn 3, was really difficult. And yeah, the only way I could really seem to pass anybody was to try to get a better run off of turn 1 and get them on the backstretch on the high side so you could carry that momentum through threes. But yeah, it was just, like I was saying, go wherever the clean air is, and down low happened to be the spot for the most part.
Well, you made it work. Fine podium finish for you tonight, Mr. Stouffer. With the podium come the spoils, and that's the microphone. Friends, family, sponsors. Shout them out, my man. You've earned it.
Well, thank you guys up here in the booth, Andrew, Mark. Thank you. 4D Racewear, as always. I got a new set of boots from the good old Jim over at 4D Racewear. They're feel very good. And, everybody here in the league, thanks for putting on the league.
Absolutely, Chris. We're glad that you got a new pair of shoes. You can throw the old smelly ones away. That'd be perfect.
I thought you wanted them.
I tell you what, I don't know if there's that much antifungals in this world to make me want to wear a pair of your shoes. But anyway, Stouffer, it's always good to talk to you. Always good for the friendly banner. Go get a refreshment. Enjoy your podium. Keep going fast. Having fun, buddy.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That's Chris Stouffer. He runs in the third spot for a very, what I'm sure, happy man in second. It's Shane Coker. Shane, you got Murph. You've got Murph, and you've got Andrew Wood in the P1 Broadcasting booth. We're doing good. This is becoming a regular thing for you. Talk to us about your day.
I don't want to get too far ahead of myself there. Abysmal qualifying to start. I hit the wall off of 4 coming to my flyer. And started in the back. I just knew I had to be aggressive with the tools today. Staying on top of them. I felt like I was making a lot of passes and felt comfortable. Really using 1 and 2 to set things up. Playing with the hybrid to find how to generate runs on people. And then at the end, just trying to hold Chris off. One of the hardest things you have to do. I thanked him a little bit after the race. I think he took it a little easier and just trying to get us into the finish. But yeah, the win a couple weeks ago was sweet, but man, this one felt 100 times more earned to get this podium, and I was fist pumping when I got across the finish line tonight.
Well, let's take that one step further, Shane. So you did take that win down on your list here a few weeks ago. Does that give you any sort of more confidence going into future races, or are you pretty much just trying to race on vibes and just and keep yourself going in such a way to continue to notch some good finishes down on your belt there?
Yeah, I think I had a 2-year monkey on my back waiting to get that first podium. It wasn't even about getting the win. It was just I wanted to get in the booth with you guys. That's all I wanted and why I kept running these races. And so that's why this one feels so much earned. For me, it's not necessarily getting the wins. It's just getting here, having the chance to talk to you guys and enjoying the spoils of a tough race. And tonight was one of the toughest races I've run. It was, nose of the grindstone and making tough passes and, bumped into a couple people, and I apologize to them along the way. But, this is going to go down as one of my favorite races, I think, yet.
I'll tell you what, it's one of my favorite things to see Shane Coker in the broadcast booth after a race. Congratulations on your run.
Yep.
With the podium comes the mic. Friends, family, sponsors. Go ahead, my man. You've earned it.
Yeah, I want to thank my teammates first and foremost, including Clendy, who runs with us on these races. Having multiple people who are so experienced to bump strategy back and forth off of, to get me in positions. Clendy made a call on his last pit stop. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to follow behind that and, live with the result. And luckily we were able to do that. And so I want to thank my teammates and stuff. I would thank them for the qualifying efforts if it wasn't so poor tonight. But I also want to thank Lovern's Inc. and Gary Lovern for everything he does over at my league. And also, Votive Racing League has a race of our own on Sunday night at Legacy Atlanta. Also, one of my favorites. I'm looking really forward to getting a race with everybody one more time before the Sim Gaming Expo. So. And finally, I want to thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Like I said last time, you give everybody a reason to come out on their evenings and try to do their best and have fun. And so I can tell you, Indy cars would not be as fun without you guys. So thank you. And finally, Craig, for putting on this league. This is one of my favorite leagues. I'm having a ton of fun, and I'm not just going to enjoy the podiums when I can. You never know when you're going to go on another 2-year drought. So it's not the best beer in front of me. It's a beer brought beer that I got, but I cracked it open for this one. So thanks, guys, and go talk to the winner.
Hey, Shane, it's always a pleasure having you up here. It won't be 2 more years before you're back. Thank you so much for.
I hope not.
Thank you so much.
Listen, it's more like a 5-year drought for me, so I understand how you're speaking there.
Oh, I got to get you back on the track more.
That's true, Andrew. You should race more. Anyway, Shane Coker, thank you so much for joining in. Keep going fast, having fun, buddy. It won't be 2 years till you're back.
Yep. Take care, guys. Have a good night.
Absolutely. That is Shane Coker, and for the man of the hour, we'll turn to Kyle Clinworth. Clindy, there were multiple strategy calls in that race. Was there ever a fear that it might not work out and you'd get stuck in the back, or were you confident enough you'd be able to drive it back to the front in any case?
Yeah, it seemed like when we got that green flag cycle that had started, I was a little afraid that the drivers who had stayed out were going to just extend their lead with their undercut, and then I'd just be stuck behind everybody. But I've been burned so many times pitting early and getting trapped a lap down. I figured I'm going to do everything I can to extend my fuel range and never try to pit under green. And it worked out for me today. Other times I've done it and, the yellow never comes and you wind up 4th or 5th or whatever. But cards just all fell my way. And, so I think that was my only fear, is that if it went green from the first time we had the split decision.
Curious to hear about that incident on the pit stop, the first one, with Craig Forsyth there. Did you take on any damage when you clouded the wall down there, or was it just a simple brush there and didn't impact your race afterwards?
Yeah, probably scuffed those wheel hubs real good that we gave back to Firestone. They're probably all marred and burred instead of being all sleek and clean. But no damage to the race car. I didn't have to use my fast repair. I think Craig just put on his limiter and came down pit road, thinking that the limiter would slow him down to pit road pace speed. But since they changed the limiter and you can no longer gear bump, it doesn't slow you down nearly as much as it used to. So for here, I think the pace speed was 45. If you enter at 50 with the limiter on, it's just going to stay at 50. You have to manually get below the pit speed before you apply it. So Craig, if you watch this back, or I'll go leave a little comment on your stream, just so that doesn't happen to you again, because it's a shame to see that happen to somebody who was having such a great race, but especially if you're so used to it being one way for years and years and years, and then they change it on you.
For certain, sure. And it's, those changes are always rough, and it's always the little ones that seem to catch you out too. Most of us wouldn't think of the pit limiter as being a huge deal, but the way that thing works can definitely catch you out. Clindy, you have it figured out, though. You bring home yet another win. Mason has trouble. Edson Santos finishes 5th. You're going to extend your points lead here in Area 51, and so congratulations on that. With those things said, you win the race, you get the mic. Go ahead, my man. You know the drill.
I've got to put Justin Petschauer first. Got a baby blue car on for him. We got baby blue walls here. Phoenix was the last fixed broadcast that he got to call, and we all miss him very, very dearly. So this one's for Justin, and I'm glad to have known him. I'm glad to have had the time we shared joking and doing accents and funny voices. I'll always remember how good he was at being Sir Jackie Stewart or anybody else you needed him to be. His accents were just so good. They lit up any room. So I'll always remember him, and I hope everyone on the channel goes back and watches his races fondly from time to time, just like I know I will. Secondly, thank you to Shane Coker, who runs the Votive Racing League and finished second behind me today. Really cool to get him 2 consecutive top 2 finishes in this league. I know that he had been wanting podium interviews for a long time, and now we got him 2 for 2 in Area 51. Pretty freaking cool. And of course, I ran the race with those Votive guys since I don't have any Alliance teammates in here. But shout out to the Alliance teammates. We passed more cars than anybody at Milwaukee this week, I think, and then probably crashed more cars than anybody at Milwaukee this week. So some wins and some losses, but you take them in stride, take them on the chin, you learn from your mistakes, and you move on. Obviously, Craig for running Area 51. It's a fun league. You guys should try to get on the wait list to join for next season. Anybody who's watching. And of course, to all the viewers, I see a bunch of big Shane Coker fans in the chat. Thanks to everybody who tuned in, who pressed the thumbs up button to like this broadcast. And of course, Murphy, thank you so much for being on the broadcast. And you too, Mr. Wood, you guys helped bring the action to life. And without you, we wouldn't be racing nearly as hard or putting on such a great show. So I hope everybody has a great night. And can tune in this Sunday to the Votive Racing League, also on P1 Broadcasting, where we will be at Legacy Atlanta, and I'm going to have a really, really good time. It's probably my favorite or second favorite racetrack to race on the entire service. So, Murph, I know it's getting late, so I'll get out of your hair. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, Clindy. Thank you so much for stopping in and stopping by. Keep going fast. Having fun, buddy. We'll see you at the next one.
Will do.
That is Kyle Clinworth. He's tonight's winner, and Andrew, the more things change, the more they tend to stay the same. Kyle Clinworth back in victory lane, but how about Shane Coker? He's started to really show some chops.
Yeah, definitely. Shane had a really good strategy tonight, and honestly, on pace alone tonight, the fastest driver wasn't always going to win. It was always about staying on top of all the multiple cautions we had in that race. Very unlike Area 51 to have it come down to a strategy race, but sometimes it's how the races go. And it was definitely good for Shane to just follow whatever Clenworth did, because he knew that Clendy would pick the right strategy there. So shout out to those guys for sure. And definitely a really good race tonight. And it was good putting on the show on the Legacy Phoenix.
It most certainly was. And if you want to keep seeing the great shows, keep it right here on P1. Tomorrow night's not going to be any different, Andrew. We're going to have another doubleheader, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the Horizon IndyCar Series. They are going to be from Road America tomorrow night. That's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The Formula Indy Super Series, or the Formula Indy Series at the Superior Detroit Layout, Belle Isle, 8:20 Eastern Standard. Thursday, the Elite Racing League P1 IndyCar Championship goes to Chicagoland. They'll be on at 7:45. At 8:20, it's the AMA Outland Custom Arms Grand National Pre-Race Show from Daytona. Race starts at 8:35. No truck race Friday. Saturday, the 2026 IndyCar iRacing Series Friday. It's not Saturday, it's Friday. 4 o'clock, the 2026 IndyCar iRacing Series presented by 40 Racewear from the Milwaukee Mile. That goes live again, special time, 4 o'clock on Friday. Sunday night, the Votive IndyCar Oval Series from Legacy Atlanta at 8. Monday, Monday is a doubleheader with IndyCar Open at 8, Indy Next Road Series at 10. That is season finale for the official series next week. Next Tuesday, Indy Oval Series 8:15. Indy Next at 9:30. They will be at Chicagoland. Area 51 next Tuesday is off. For all of us at P1, we do want to thank everybody for tuning in, joining in the fun. If you haven't already done it, make sure you hit the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel so that you too can get in on all of the iRacing action. We want to thank the fans in the stands. Thank you so much for the lively chat. Most of all, we want to thank the people that really make it possible: the military, the police, the firemen, the EMTs driving the ambulance, and the nurse that unloads you when you get there. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you all. And Andrew, we will see you at the next one. Have a great night, everybody.
Strap in, feel the hum in your hands. This is 4D. Heat on my palms, grip locked, heart racing. Shoes hit the pedal, whole room shaking. Jersey on my back, hair pulled low and blazing. Every turn I take, got the ghosts I'm chasing. 4D in my veins, feel that fire when I play, when I move, when I break, when I bang through the lane. 4D on my skin, when I lose, when I win, I'm alive in the light of the game I'm in. 4D, 4D, 4D. It's different. Yeah, that's winning. Grit in my voice, baseline under my breath. Glove print stamped on the wheel like a crest. I don't just play, I live it. Every stitch says get it. From the couch to the checkered, I'm the